Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the 11th episode of Tekk Talk. Today's session is more special because we have our speaker, Matt, from Australian counterparts. And without further delay, let's start. Welcome for joining us, Matt. Now the floor is all yours. You can start.
Thanks. I think it's been a while since I've seen everyone because the last time I was speaking to a lot of you was probably last year when I was in Nepal. So it's good to see you all again. Um, yeah, and I'd love to do more of these. Maybe obviously not every month, but try to give you some updates, a bit more context about what's happening in Australia and maybe some of the other markets that I'm familiar with too. So this introduction is pretty short because I really wanted this to be more interactive and to answer the questions that you're curious about. So let's get into it pretty quickly. So you may or may not be familiar with kind of my journey. I'm originally from Sydney. I was there till 2014. I lived in Tokyo for about 8 years and discovered the startup world there first before I came back home in 2022 to Perth. That's where I found Tekkon and met Pat. And from there, I took it to Sydney, where I am now. As you know, that's kind of how we talk about Tekkon. So outside of you probably see me as sales, but um, in the world of startups, whether it's Japan, Perth, or Sydney, next week I'm in Melbourne, for example. I do a bit of mentoring myself. I also do events under like a different brand. We have a bit of a weekly newsletter that goes out about funding, and we also um, do there's a bit of a podcast that we do as well. So if you're ever interested in any of those, feel free to message me directly on Mattermost. I can always share links with you. Um, so here's a few stats that you might be interested in. There's around 18,000 startups in Australia currently. That's the latest statistic I could find. It's pretty diverse. So everything from, I guess, maybe we can break it down by state. But if you look at Perth specifically, where I started, I guess there's a lot in the mining and the energy space, but you also see a lot in the medtech space as well. So in Perth specifically, while it's known as kind of like the mining town or the resources town, you also do see quite a diverse mix of startups in Perth. When you come out from west and you come to the east coast, there is even more diversity, more variety. And then I think you start to see a few more startups delve into deep tech as well. So hardware, robotics, autonomous machines. You're probably looking at like medical devices as well. So Australia itself, we only have a population of about 28 million, but we do have a lot of activity here, especially in Sydney. And you're starting to see some of the other major cities lift up as well. So in terms of funding, last year there was about 4 billion in total funding, and of that, 1.3 was invested specifically in AI related startups. The year before that, 2023, 3.5 billion. So it's not small, especially for the size. I think Australia is punching above its weight, or is above average when you think about it on a per capita basis. So Australia is very active. Um, some startups to watch, and I guess these are startups that have raised recently. So Heidi Health is a medtech startup, and they're basically an AI platform that helped kind of automate or to help streamline clinicians or doctors that are working in hospitals, a lot of their admin, a lot of their forms, a lot of their updates and reporting. Hypersonics Launch Systems, they're working on a hydrogen powered scramjet, or what do you call it, like the Mark, is it Mark 5? So pretty fast and a prototype, much faster than what we currently have in terms of fighter jets. Firmus Tech, they're actually a recent unicorn. So originally from Australia, they're now in Singapore. So I don't know if we can call them Australia, but they work on AI data centers and trying to make them more efficient. Andromeda, it's based in Melbourne. They working on like a robotic companion for elderly. Swarm Farm Robotics is autonomous, kind of like tractors or agricultural equipment for farms. They're based in Queensland. And Lorikeet, they have gone to the US now, or expanded at least to the US. They have like a customer service AI agent for fintech and health tech related startups. So it's kind of like a support platform chatbot. They call it a concierge service. So there are a few cool startups in Australia that are doing cool things, I think, or originated from Australia. And yeah, I would highly recommend you check some of them out on LinkedIn or on the website. There's some of the, I guess, yeah, exciting innovations that are coming out of this country. So we got a lot of questions, which is good. I'm glad you're interested in Australia. So it's good to see, always good to see. And as I go through the questions, also, like I want this session to be interactive. So if you have a question, feel free to interrupt, or if you have a point of view to add, then I would encourage you to provide some input because whilst I see startups, I guess as an ecosystem builder or as a mentor, and I talk to a lot of founders, I see it from a higher level. You guys are working actually with the startups, so you probably have a lot more direct experience in the inner workings of how things are operating and the challenges and that kind of thing. So feel free to voice your opinion if you have some additional insights to add. So I just made some general notes, but I'll go through some of the questions that we got. So one of the questions was, what emerging tech or sectors do you believe will dominate Australian startup landscape for the next 3 to 5 years? So just by talking there, I think you're starting to see AI dominate the conversation a lot. But I guess now what's happening is because there's so much AI startups out there, it's really hard to know like what is the moat, what is it that makes the AI unique. So that's one thing. In Australia too, you're starting to see more deep tech startups emerge. So we looked at a few from the list that I mentioned, Swarm Farm Robotics or Andromeda, just some examples. But hardware, robotics, autonomous machines, medical devices, they are starting to, maybe I'll take a step back. Australia was never known for kind of manufacturing, and you're starting to see that capability being, let's say, built out more and more lately. So that's a good sign, I think. Um, Second question was, what are the biggest challenges Australian startups face when scaling internationally, and how are successful founders navigating them? So I think there's a few of you here that have been to Australia before. As you know, we're kind of like located in the middle of nowhere, very far from many different countries. We're an island. Um, and so when we think about location, even, it's a big of a challenge for us to expand beyond our country. Number one, we're a small country. There's not many people. We've got a smaller population than Nepal, for example. And when we ever want to go anywhere, um, the US there's a big difference in terms of time zone. It's very far away. If we want to travel there, it takes around 12 to 15 hours to fly somewhere. So in terms of location, it's a big challenge for us, especially if we want to take a startup somewhere. Luckily, I think the more that people have invested in Australia, the more people that have realized Australia is such a good opportunity because we do provide a really good ROI, like a return on investment. um, I guess, on a ratio or per capita basis. Like, even though we're a small population, we have a high rate of activity in terms of entrepreneurship and startups. I think you start to see that more people have taken startups from Australia and gone abroad. And so, because we have so many examples now, there's a playbook, or there's people that have done it before that can provide advice to people locally here. So that makes it easier for startups who want to go to China, who want to take that to India, who want to go to US, who want to go to the UK. So I think it's starting to be easier for Australian startups to expand into other markets. Next question we had was, how interested are Australian startups and founders in using AI for software development? Cursor, Warp, GitHub, Windsurf, Claude, etc. I think you'll be surprised if a startup isn't using AI. Most of the ones that I've seen are. Even some of our clients are using Cursor, for example, these days, or even encouraging devs, I would say, to like use AI tools because of the productivity gains. One thing I am noticing is non-technical founders using more AI tools to get them to like a prototype stage, or like a proof of concept stage. So there's platforms like Lovable. I'm sure you're probably more familiar than me, but like Lovable, Replit, Blue Bolt. There's no-code platforms like Bubble, and these platforms are making it much easier for non-technical founders to get to a certain level um, before they then talk to a developer to help them build their MVP, their minimum viable product, and beyond. Um, what else? Many potential. So next question is: many potential successful startups are being acquired by tech giants. How common is this trend in Australia? Um, I think you see the more successful startups being acquired. We have our own tech giants, I think now. So Canva is one. Atlassian is the other major one. And so even those are examples of big companies that are acquiring or buying out smaller startups. So maybe a good example is Canva. They bought out a startup called Leonardo AI, which is like an image generation AI startup here in Australia, in Sydney, and they merged into the Canva ecosystem. So you're starting to see a lot of those kind of examples happen. So yes, M&A or mergers and acquisitions is a big thing, especially global. I would say global companies absorbing Australian startups. Next question. So any comments so far? Anyone want to interrupt, or any questions? Nothing? Okay, we'll keep going. Ah, yep. Yeah, there you go. Canva also acquired Infinity. That's right. Um, so Till, did you have a question?
Uh, okay, hello. Can you
Hi.
hear me? So
Yep.
I'm so good. I have just a simple question.
Yep.
Like since you've mentioned that you've worked across Japan and Australia, so what sort of difference or similarities you actually experience or notice? Like whether it could be work culture or or any related. Like even with the startups or any other. I mean, giant companies. So like
Yep. I think so. Japan's probably a completely different conversation, but just very, very quickly, you'll notice that Japan is very talented in the areas of like manufacturing, robotics, in the deep tech space, like medical devices, also energy. So you're starting to see now startups in the energy space, in the green tech space, in robotics, um, also in medtech. So I think that's probably a new conversation to have, but yeah, very much in the deep tech. Japan is very, very experienced. Also, SaaS took a long time to mature in Japan, and it's still a thing. I think like Australians, we're kind of over the SaaS model, but Japan is still growing as a SaaS market. AI, however, has grown very, very quickly. Like Japan has adopted AI very quickly, and so you're starting to see startups like Sakana AI is a big one. They're a unicorn in Japan. Um, AI models and efficient AI models. I think they prototyped like a autonomous research scientist using AI. So that's just an example of some stuff that Japan is doing. Like entrepreneurship is not a big is a small thing there. Very much Japan is like a work for life mentality. You join one company, you stay there till you retire, and then finish. So this entrepreneurship scene is small in comparison to the bigger business landscape, and just starting to mature now, I think. So compared to Australia. No. Does that help? Provide some context?
Yeah, thank you. Sounds good.
No worries. Maybe that's a separate session, so I can do a separate session on Japan next time, in a couple of months. Let's move on. So Australian. So next question is Australian companies outsourcing IT roles primarily to reduce costs, or is it because they can access equivalent talent in countries like Nepal? That's an interesting question, and I think it really depends on the client. So you've got clients that, sorry, you've got startups that only want local developers working in the same office as them, coming into the office 5 days a week, and remote work is like completely off the table. Like they wouldn't consider it at all. Then you've got startups. Maybe a good example might be like Space to Co, where you can kind of work anywhere. Like remote work is okay, and so because they're open to that, working with remote developers, they see, it doesn't matter where you are, like talent, you can find talented developers. And so they're very open to that model. And so, sure, there might be the cost effective resource approach there. That's an advantage. But I think they also appreciate that Nepal has really great talented devs as well. And so, yeah, it really depends on the startup, their point of view. I would argue that we've been lucky to keep clients for so long, but from the point of view, I don't think they think they're lucky. They think they're lucky that they've been able to find such great devs. So I think, yeah, it depends on the startups. Initially, they probably see, offshoring as a concept is like more cost effective, but I think in any market you'll be able to find amazing developers, including Nepal. And so Nepal is just another example of, for some startups, they can access not only cost-effective talent, but also really great developers as well. And what else have we got? So with AI, okay, next question is, with AI reducing the need for some junior level coding tasks, what is the current employment outlook in Australian IT industry, and how are companies and workers preparing for this shift? So this is very much the same situation in Japan. Australia has a lack of talented IT resources, and so that's kind of like why we outsource a lot of our development. That's where we need to go outside Australia to find resources, because we don't have enough talented people inside the country. And so because of that lack of talent, immigration is quite high here in Australia. And there's a lot of outsourcing going on offshore as well. So they say by 2030 there'll be like a huge gap of unfilled positions in the IT space. So I think that gap's just only going to get like wider and wider. So yeah, it's Australia doesn't have enough. Well, number one, not enough tech co-founders. I see that all the time. But number two, not enough developers or tech resources as well in general. Next question is, what's driving the faster Series B and Series C funding timelines in 2025 after the 22 to 24 downturn? Is this just an AI race? So sorry, I forgot who asked that question. I'm not sure if that was a global view or if that was just Australia. Australia, like when startups get into like Series B or Series C, I think you start to see like they're the ones with the proven product market fit. Like they have been able probably to scale beyond Australia and get overseas investment as well. They tend to be, I guess, fewer of those examples. A lot of startups will get to kind of pre-seed, then a little bit less to seed, and then a little bit less to Series A, and then a lot less to Series B. So whether it's whether it's an exit or whether they die because they run out of money, or what else? What are some other examples? Whether the founders fight and break up. There's a lot of reasons why a startup doesn't continue or doesn't end up working out. But the ones that make it to Series B or beyond, you start to see less and less. What's driving Series B and Series C? Yeah, I think AI, but I think also now you're coming to this kind of challenge for investors, especially trying to figure out what's the unique point. If you have an AI startup, what makes you unique? Are you just a wrapper on a ChatGPT API, or like do you actually have your own product that is solving a problem, serving a purpose, and is unique, will never be replaced by a Gemini update, or is not something that is easily created, based on the tools that are available out there. So I think the AI is very much pushing. I think a lot of these, very high funding rounds up to B and C, but you're starting to see, I think, not only founders but investors it's very hard for them to really figure out what's the unique selling point for some of these startups. Let's see what's next. Last question. Australian startups seem to be working on climate tech as well. I'm intrigued about exactly what they are working on and what impact they are making. I think in the climate tech or the green tech space, you see a lot of startups working in recycling. So that's kind of manufacturing using waste to create like recycled products. That's one big one. The other one is reporting. So as like we have more standards, or there's more regulations introduced around how to report on like how companies are operating, how they're like carbon neutral or carbon negative. I think there's a lot of startups out there that are helping companies like big enterprise or even small to medium businesses with their reporting requirements, how to meet those requirements, how they can measure their impact on the environment, how they can be seen to be more, let's say, environmentally friendly or socially responsible. So I think you see it in two kind of phases here in Australia. One is on the kind of reporting, helping them, meet their obligations. The other one is around recycling. They're the major ones that I saw. There's a few more questions that came through from Farina. So from Yogesh, what are the biggest challenges Australian startups are currently facing and how are they overcoming them? I guess, yeah, AI, like I mentioned before, like figuring out the unique aspect of your AI product. I think too many people are trying to jump on the AI train. And so it's really hard sometimes to figure out, like, is this product unique? Like, does it solve a problem? Or is it, just because you wanted to build an AI product? Like, I think that's a big one, a big challenge. And then the other one is, yeah, going abroad. Like, how can I take my company beyond Australian shores or beyond the limits of Australia? Especially if you're in Perth, like I think it's hard because it's kind of isolated city, and it's very far from like the East Coast, for example. Any other questions before I continue? No, keep going. Okay. So the next question was from Janet. What challenges and difficulties do you face when dealing with startup companies, and how do you manage convincing them to use Tekkon services? That's a good question. I don't think we ever try to convince people to use us, because it's kind of like you're pressuring or you're forcing someone to use your service. We already know Tekkon is a good, let's say, company, provides really good services already. We have access to great talent. So it's not about whether we should convince them or not. It's more about whether they see a fit, whether they actually want to work with us. So I never want to try to convince people. I always want to make it feel like this is the best solution for them, and it's a natural fit for them. So I think that's how salespeople work these days. Like there's no dodgy secondhand car salesman, that you might have had a picture of or an image of 10, 15 years ago. These days, sales is very much about building relationships, long-term relationships, building trust, and solving pain points, helping people find a solution that will make their life better. And I think Tekkon does that in many ways for startups, especially in Australia. Hope that helps answer your question. Samrit asked, what is the trend regarding the average project lifespan of tech companies associated with Tekkon, and what factors usually determine the length of their association? Yeah, really good question. And if that probably take me 20 minutes to answer properly, but in simple terms, you always need to think about the startup, how mature is the product, how capable is the team, how much funding do they have, or how many clients do they have? It really depends. So an early stage founder, if they don't have a CTO and they're non-technical founder, they're probably relying on Tekkon for all the staff to help them build a product. Someone a little bit later stage, they've got a few clients, they've got a CTO or a technical co-founder, they've got a bit of money to spend. Maybe they just want one developer to help them scale the product. A little bit later on, you've got a Series A or a Series B startup that has a lot of investment. They've got a core team here in Australia and they want to scale out. Maybe they'll get a bigger team behind them. So yeah, there's lots of differences. The reason why a startup would stop using us is a couple of reasons. They're moving to a local team. Maybe they ran out of money. What else? They got bought out, like they got acquired by a bigger company, and so cost cutting. They finished building the product. There's many reasons why they would stop using us in Nepal. Stop using Tekkon, I guess. But yeah, as we've seen, we have some clients that have started with us since the start, 2018. 7, 8 years. So I think we've been able to build up a really solid, really strong business. That's all the questions that have come through. I hope I was able to answer most of them. Were there any others? Any other questions? Piyush is asking, what is the general zeitgeist? Okay, that's an interesting term. The client using Tekkon, any pain points? Pain points are probably, in Australia, it's really hard to find great developers. As a startup with limited money, you can't match companies like Canva or Atlassian or Microsoft or like the top corporates in terms of salary. So startups are always fighting probably for the same talent. And I think Tekkon helps provide, great talent at cost-effective rates. So I think that's one pain point that we can provide. The second one, sometimes startups have had a bad experience when they use platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, and for example, the freelancer disappeared or they were managing multiple projects, so they weren't devoting 100% of their attention to the startup, or maybe they just like took the money and ran. I think we also help solve that point in providing reliable, vetted resources that won't, work across multiple projects. They have their undivided attention. They're focused solely on that product, that startup, that team, and we can guarantee that they're working, we're supervising, we're supporting the staff. So I think that's a couple of the pain points that we help solve, if that helps. And maybe sometimes also too, like getting access to talent gaps or solving talent gaps in the team. I've seen recently like HubSpot integrations. A few people have looked at hiring people in that space. and I think it was hard for them to find that particular skill set in Australia. So filling skill gaps too, maybe. Any other questions? Still got 13 minutes, so hit me. Don't be shy, DBS. Feel free to interrupt or chuck your question in the chat. Does anyone want to share any experiences? I've shared my point of view, but maybe you disagree, maybe you have something else to add to anything that I've talked about. Feel free to do that.
Please feel free to unmute or drop your question if anyone would like to ask something or put your points.
I'll ask Amulia then. Amulia, anything I've missed that you think from an Australian point of view? Because I know you obviously talk to a lot of CTOs, you talk to a lot of non-technical founders. What do you see when talking to Aussie startups?
I think there were a few questions about what kind of value they would see in the services like Tekkon. I think one is the recruitment process. They have to get into if they want to hire someone onshore. A lot of compliances, a lot of parties being involved. Background checks and things. Of course, the limitation of talent everywhere. So I think that's also another major key point, for the services like us. And just in my experience, I think the more years that we have passed in the business, I think we have been earning the credibility, in each year that we pass. So with all the feedback and the referrals that we keep on receiving, I think those have been really good signs and signs for the growth in the new inquiries. Um, just looking into the sources of customers that we mostly have. It has always started with the referral, and still the referrals has been quite strong. So basically, it's all of you guys, who performs well and make your clients really happy, so that they go out and just refer their friends, their colleagues in the startup world. Um, Yep. So that's what I was maybe also trying to just was thinking on my mind.
Yep.
uh,
I think so. As a recruitment company, which is what we are essentially, like in Australia, if you recruit a local developer here in Australia, you will charge the company commission for that placement, and it's quite high. And companies never like paying. If they don't have to pay or if they don't have to use a recruiter, they won't. So I think like one of the advantages of using Tekkon too, we don't have placement fees. We don't charge the client commission, for example. Like um, they can use the HR service and know that they're getting like one of the best developers, especially for the role that they've decided on with Amelia. So I think that's also like a key differentiator for us
yeah.
too, potentially.
And
Yeah.
also, still Nepal, I think it's kind of a new market still,
Mm.
for the outsourcing or for offshore skills recruitments, and uh, and Nepal has definitely some unique part. Whenever I introduce myself first with any customers, I have so much to tell about. I introduce myself, the country, the things, and just add some bit of extra bonding with some good things to tell about the nation, and that also gives a very good first impression about the country, and they feel motivated, to know more people and to build the team in this region as well.
Yep. We've taken on some new clients recently that I think are kind of growing as well. Like if you look at Sprint Law, or if you look at Enroller, even like these growing startups, they've got investment, they've got a good client base. if we can provide a good experience initially, that just gives them more confidence to be able to want to hire more staff in Nepal as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so love all the work that you guys are doing. It makes my job easy.
Yeah, very recent example, Crumozo is the one, because they
Mhm.
started with really limited plan. Samrat was the first one, and also the new reason officially for us, the Sydney client, first
Mhm.
onboarded client in Tekkon, and now we have like three developers, so two already working and one almost we are again adding up. So
Yep,
it's likely going permanent. So that has been really good, a very recent example.
exactly. Yep. So keep up the good work, guys in working for Crewmojo too, and Sprint Law, and help us spread the word. And I think, like, yeah, client referrals are the biggest show of like brand satisfaction. If they introduce other clients to us, that shows that they really love Tekon, that they really love the brand, that they really love the developers that they're working with. So, that's just testament to the quality of or the level of um, development that you guys are providing too. So, um, yeah, if there's anything that is a good indication, I think the amount of referrals we get, whether it's from Sydney clients, whether it's from Japan clients, whether it's from Perth, Melbourne, etc., these are all great examples of the work that you do, high quality work that you do. Cool. Anything else? You got 6 more minutes to ask me anything you want. So if you talk about offshore countries that countries use, Australia is probably a bit more familiar with Nepal. When you talk about Japan, Japan tends to use countries more like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines. So when you talk about Nepal, it's quite unique. It's quite a unique sell. So I was speaking to an angel investor today in Tokyo, and he's like, "Oh, so where do you get your developers from?" And yeah, Nepal. He's like, "Wait, what?" So Japan is not used to working with developers in Nepal. And whilst there's a big Nepalese population in Japan, I know I've met many people there. It's unusual for them to think about Nepal as a tech hub. Australia is a bit more used to that because there's a few more services like this, like Tekkon, that exist. But in Japan, especially, you don't hear about it as often, I think.
Yeah, also I think we have started to brand the tech industry as a whole. So now we have started to publish some annual reports of the size of the tech talents, the
Hmm.
service export figures. So that has been quite good to attract new reasons with the numbers as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we can create some good examples of like supporting Japanese startups, then I think we can do a good job of expanding there. And I'd also love to like see us working in countries like Singapore, Hong Kong. So there's always opportunity to go beyond Australian borders as well. If you had $100 million to build a new startup in Australia today, what problem would you solve first? I would solve the immigration problem. I hate immigration here. Sure, I didn't say that so uh, frankly, probably, but yeah, I would use $100 million to go into immigration and solve the government problem. Like, I think $100 million. Like, I don't think you ever want $100 million to solve a problem. I think you want to make the most of what you've got as a founder because it makes you think more creatively. It makes you use what you've got to the best of your ability. So maybe startups these days tend to focus too much, and I'm talking from Australia and Japan point of view. they focus too much on, can I raise, can I get capital, can I get an angel investor, can I find a VC, and they don't worry enough about the customer. So I think like education is really important when it comes to entrepreneurship. And the more that we can educate founders to be more focused on the customer and making sales and bootstrapping, as opposed to, I just want to raise money, like I think you would start to see the quality of startups improve. You'd start to see the amount of startups that succeed, increase slightly. And I think the need for investors probably would lower a little bit as well, or you wouldn't see so many people chasing investors. So yeah, it's a bit of a maybe a weird answer, Ravi. Sorry, but that's like how I see it. They chase investors too much, and they should be chasing customers. And that's kind of what I mentor as well. So yeah, it's great to have 100 million, but I would prefer to not have that money, because then it would make me be more resourceful, more creative with how I build my company. How about you, Ravi? What would you solve? What problem would you solve in Australia or in Nepal? Or does anyone have a problem that they want to solve in Nepal, or even, I don't know, a problem that they see globally, for example?
I would probably work on fixing the um unemployment problem for the
Mm,
our migrant workers, because um, the area which I come from,
mhm,
almost from every household, someone is working in Dubai, Malaysia, Qatar, in very low wage, risking their lives. So I would probably work on that part. So
mm,
maybe invest in agriculture, or creating local jobs, or anything sort of that, to keep them in the country, um, along with their family, and
yep.
protect them from risking their lives in abroad. So yeah, that's what I would work
So,
on.
Amelia?
Sorry, I was clapping, but all good.
Okay.
So that was really good, Robbie. Because what I always think is, we need more hourly work setups in Nepal. The things that have recently started to get people used to, like Pathao rides, deliveries, logistics. So these things have allowed people, not to just stay home without any work. If they have a vehicle, they can just use it and earn hourly. So we need this hourly earning system in a lot of different industries, from yeah, anything we can see, like any kind of workers. If they get some platform to just yeah, work on their skills, on not being fully employed in some company, that would be really good. Any startup idea contributing to that particular factor would be really great for Nepal.
Yep. I think like you see a lot of AI recruitment platforms here. Like they try to like kind of like ATS, where they try to like skill match, or they do the initial vetting, or and I don't know it's a good use of AI. Like anyway, I think that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, you start to see you see a lot of that. I'm not saying that wouldn't work in Nepal, but yeah, if you're making an AI platform for like vetting resumes, I think mm, it's a tough one. Sabina, did you have a question, or you just want to finish it up?
There is a question from Vivek Suvedi on chat box.
Yeah, he's just making a comment, I think. Yeah, so I'm back in Japan next year for Sushi Tech, of course. That's April, what is it? 26, 7, 27, 28, 29. I'm in back in Tokyo. So yeah, hopefully get a few more clients that time, Vivek. Um, and Piyush, agritech would be nice for Nepal. Most lands are barren. Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm sure you can. There's a lot of opportunity to disrupt the agricultural industry in Nepal as well. So
Yeah, I mean, so I had a chance to work with a Japanese client, Asahi Beer. I think
oh,
you guys.
cool. Yep.
So a very huge client. So yeah, my previous company was able to land it. So when you said that some Japanese company they don't know about getting talents from Nepal, but so I had the chance. So I think it would be great if Tekkon could land those huge clients. So yep,
Yep.
some kind like that. Yep, man.
Yeah. Right.
Cheers.
Cool. I Yeah, I would love to get Asahi. They're huge. But yeah, startups are a little bit easier just because that's kind of where I play or where I know. But hey, Vivek, if you know anyone in Asahi beer, you can introduce me to. Always happy to get a referral.
Yeah, sure, sure, man. Yep.
No worries. All right. You want to wrap up
Yeah.
there then?
If you have more question, you can drop question on our Madmas channel or ask directly to Matt also. So thank you everyone for your active participation and being big thank you to Matt for your valuable insight with us today. This concludes the 11th episode of Tech Talks. We appreciate your presence and look forward to see you all in our future Tech Talk session too. Have a wonderful day. See you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Pratik, did you want to speak?
Yeah, just
Samrat?
clap. Sorry.
Yep.
I think they are clapping
Oh, they're
for
clapping.
you.
Okay, fair enough. Lots of claps. It's good.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Okay, thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thanks. Thanks, Matt.
No
Cheers. Bye.
worries. See ya.